You know, if, like, you support the whitewashed version of a character, chances are, like, if that's your profile picture, chances are you are racist. And, like, by proxy, anyone who's associated with you is also kind of racist. Especially when they say Romani people aren't brown. Like, what the fuck was that about? Anyway, this is why I wish death on the MCU. Welcome back to another episode of Last Week in Comics, where we talk about the last week in comics. Man, it's been a week. Starting off, we have a very special book by my best friend. I don't know if I'm his best friend, but my best friend, Ryan North, KRYPTO, The Last Dog of Krypton. And my god, I didn't know that, like, an author could make... Again, this is a book told entirely from the perspective of a dog. I thought it was going to be mostly a silent comic with, like, no speech bubbles and stuff. But, like, the way that, like, everything is framed is so goddamn good. Basic plot synopsis of KRYPTO, The Last Dog of Krypton. Essentially, as they're kind of testing the rocket to see if there's a chance of sending people off of Krypton before it blooms, they have sent Krypton essentially on, like, a test mission to see if this is gonna work. And I really enjoy the framing of how KRYPTO kind of responds to everything, because, like, so how it's essentially done is that we actually get told a lot of things about, like, you know, life on Krypton, about how people are trusting the science committee a little bit too much, but how it's framed in the comic is if it's, like, background noise to KRYPTO. Like, all the text is a slightly, like, faded, well, like, it's more of a grayish color instead of the normal black. It's all lowercase versus, like, when someone's talking actively to KRYPTO, it's in bold black, all uppercase. Like, how you would think your dog's interpreting you speaking, which makes sense. And I don't know, just something about this book. Of course, like, we all know I'm a fan of Ryan North, and, like, this book is no exception. I don't think that Ryan North has not had a single miss in terms of comics. It is kind of crazy. I want to talk about the twist ending. So first off, I do think that you should just read this for yourself, of course. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this book justice with specifically, like, the way that it's framing the destruction of Krypton and how Superman's parents kind of, like, view the destruction of Krypton and how they're trying to save everything, how they're doing it for love. Like, I'm not going to be able to properly describe this book in this video. You need to read it for yourself, but there's a twist ending at the end. The planet that KRYPTO lands on is actually Earth, you know, pre-Superman getting there. And, you know, he's running through the streets. He doesn't really, like, KRYPTO doesn't know what a fucking car is. Of course, he's gonna almost get run over by a taxi. But as he's kind of running, because, again, he also does not have his collar, because the Jor-El was like, that's too much weight, because of course he did, because Ryan North is a science guy, which is why all of his books are, like, bangers when it comes to science. But he, like, he's running through the streets of Metropolis, and then he stumbles upon fucking baby Lex Luthor with his fucking hair still there. So Lex Luthor is now in possession of KRYPTO. And he doesn't know that this is an alien dog. He just thinks it's a regular-ass dog. You know, this isn't the first Superman media that decides to make, like, some connection between Clark and Lex before, you know, they're adults. But I do think that this might be one of the more creative ways of doing that. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, Lex saw, you know, he saw the ship land and it blew off all of his hair.
Next thing I remember, I was waking up in Metropolis General completely bald.
It's one thing to kind of do that, but to say that, like, he's kind of, like, he gets this super-powered dog and he's like, aliens are real and they're dogs. And then fucking Superman shows up and he's like, what the fuck? And then Superman shows up with the dog he rescued and he's like, what the fuck? I think this book is going to go so crazy so quickly. Because not only... First off, Ryan North is a very good science fiction writer. I think it is, quite honestly, the thing that is in all of his books that he really excels at. You know, from Star Trek to the book from the other company I'm not going to mention. Like, it's the one thing that, like, really elevates a lot of the characters and stories that he creates. to have that kind of be put onto Krypton, which, again, we don't really know that much about, to try and, like, help bring some of the science of it to life is so interesting. Honestly, maybe I just want Ryan North to write a, like a series on Krypton, like, as a planet and as, like, a science division. But really, realistically, and Ryan North knows that this is my dream book now, because I blue skied him about it. But really, I need Ryan North on a blue and gold book. Like, we need Ryan North on blue and gold. He would also write a really good Ted Cord. He would write an amazing Ted Cord. That's what Ryan North, DC, if you keep on hiring this man, but more importantly, give him blue and gold. Alright, moving on to another book I read this week. Okay, so we have Zatanna issue 5. This is the one before the final one. I mostly want to talk about what an amazing job Jamal Campbell has been doing on art. So, basic plot, or continuation of the last couple issues, but more importantly, Zatanna's broken the curse. She has a little conversation with her mom. They hug, and she is essentially trying to break free of this, like, prison. And we kind of get a retelling of what happened to Zatara and how Zatanna's partially responsible for his death. But what really blew me away this issue was just the magnificent, like, the grand scale of the art. Like, Jamal Campbell is a very detailed artist, but, like, this issue kind of, like, took it to the fucking extreme. I have to, like, pull up the panels because, again, like most comic books I describe on here, I'm not doing a good job at it. God, I'm looking at the paneling again. It's so fucking good. Especially, like, all the scenes of, like, her throughout the years with, like, the Justice League, the JSA, and, like, showing all of her, like, past failures. And then there's the really fun panel. Which is probably going to be somewhere in the thumbnail for this video, where it's, like, Zatanna, but she's on the fucking, like, pencils for the issue, and she's like, shit, I can't be dimension hopping again. God fucking damn it. She has to, like, portal back down. That was fucking brilliant. Like, she's, like, I've heard it described as she's, like, actively rewriting her story, like, throughout this issue. And it goes fucking hard. I've been loving Jamal Campbell's Zatanna. I do think that it is going to be a nice, like, good book-ended introduction point for Zatanna, which I do appreciate, but, like, also, I kind of want more of this. I think Zatanna is a character who deserves an ongoing, and, like, if we do have to switch off from Jamal Campbell and get a new writer and artist on there, I would be down for it. I would still be reading it. It's amazing. Also, if you're wondering what, like, obviously I'm gonna have the picture up here of, like, the inkings, or of the pencils, but, like, as you can see by that right there, which is a inking from She-Hulk in Ceremony, I'm a very big fan of specifically inkings, so those pages went fucking hard to me, okay? I fucking love this book. It's been good. It's been great. You should read it. Next up is New Gods, issue 7. I had to remember what issue we were on. So the Justice League is now here. And, like, I kind of wish they weren't. Because, like, this, like, okay, so obviously, like, it feels like it's been, like, too many issues with the Justice League in it. And, like, here's the thing. I absolutely 100% think that Ram V could write a Justice League book. It seems like Ram V really wants to write Green Lantern. Case in point, how he treated Jon Stewart and how he actually acknowledged that Jon Stewart was, you know, an archaeologist and was like, oh, he's gonna build a new home for the new gods. Which I really appreciate. I do think that Ram V should be put on a Green Lantern book. And, like, yeah, I probably am not the best person to describe what's happening in New Gods because I barely understand it half the time. But that's also, like, how I just am with New Gods, so I'm not really that, like, shocked that this is happening. Really, the highlight of this issue for me is, first off, the amazing art by Cagle. Absolutely, 100%. I want him on a better Wonder Woman book. Not the current Wonder Woman book. That shit was weird. That shit's bad. But I want him on a Wonder Woman book. the fucking, how he draws Wonder Woman is so fucking good. The other thing is specifically Orion's reaction to finding out that Light Ray was fucking dead. He lost his goddamn shit. Ramvi, I know that you are probably listening. You're not probably listening to me. You're probably listening to Kirby, who's in your ear and telling you, make Light Ray and Orion canon. And guess what? I'm gonna say it too. Make Light Ray and Orion canon. You basically just did already. Like, this is now canon in my eyes. Yeah, and we're ramping up with more shit with Maxwell Lord and, like, the fucking, like, Children of Darkseid or whatever the fuck those people... I don't know what the fuck's going on with them, and I don't know why Metatron's helping them. I almost said Megatron? Metatron. That's his name. Metron. I think it might be Metron. I don't fucking know. How I read New Gods is I just hold on and I go, holy shit, that was a lot. It's fucking space opera shit, okay? I never understand regular opera. How am I gonna understand space opera? But I like that about New Gods. That's my personal opinion of New Gods. I'm in there for the gay shit and to be fucking confused as hell 80% of the time. New Gods has been doing good. I do feel like the past couple issues have been Justice League heavy, and it's, I do like what it's doing with Orion. Again, I'm gonna plug the, like, graphic novel, the sequel to the Barda graphic novel that's coming out, or that came out, like, they're making a sequel about Orion. I know in my mind's eye, Light Ray and Orion are gonna be a little fruity in there. As fruity as DC will allow it. DC, you already put Orion in a Pride special. Just make him kiss Light Ray. DC, I know you can hear me. So, I am not really caught back up with Absolute Flash, but I did fucking read Absolute Flash issue 4 this week because we have the return of one of my favorite characters, Linda Park. Woo! Me and Stack realized something that, like, almost every, like, couple in the Absolute Universe is gay. So, like, Clark and Lois, by Stack's definition, looked like a gay man couple. Obviously, Bruce and Selena have been lesbians. I mistook them for lesbians again. Wonder Woman and Steve are also lesbians, but also I'm like, I don't think she's gonna end up with Steve in that universe. You know what? Martian Manhunter, or the Martian Mindfucker, and his wife, they're a lavender marriage. Wait, no, Martian Manhunter's non-binary. What the fuck am I talking? But anyway, Absolute Flash is no different. Wally and Linda look like lesbians right now. I choose to believe that Wally in this universe is a he-him lesbian. That's just what I've been going with. But anyway, so his dad is now working with Thorne. Reverse Flash is a woman now. I think that's the best way. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off right now. Reverse Flash is a woman. A hot woman. She's like, oh, but he's like a successful experiment. We're gonna capture him. We're gonna experiment on him. Wally's dad's like, no, don't do that. But Wally is currently, like, at a group home. And, oh, God, it was so cool. Because, we actually got a Sue and Ralph Dibny Ralph was in here. So Ralph and Sue in the Absolute Universe are, like, running a group home for, like, runaway kids where they give them, like, 3 meals a day, like, a bed to sleep in. It's just fucking cool as hell. I didn't know that you could make me like Ralph. I read most of Elongated Man's shit. I don't fucking like Ralph. I think his wife's too good for him. I like him in the Absolute Universe. And Linda is also at this group home, and it seems like they're kind of butting heads a little bit right now because, like, you know, they're both running from things. Honestly, if they keep on going with this, I just want to see more Linda and Wally. And I think how I'm going to be reading Absolute Flash is that if I find out that, like, the issue has some Linda in it, I'm probably going to read it because they did kind of get back sidetracked to, like, the whole, like, Grodd is like, we're finding the other experiments that escaped and we're going to go fight them. And I'm like, I want to see more of what's going on with Wally and Linda because, like, there's so rare of times nowadays that we get, like, civilian supporting casts And I think in a universe, or in this universe where Wally is like a runaway teen and so is Linda, I think it could create a much more interesting dynamic and story going forward, that I really hope that they just, like, expand upon that. But also, on the other hand, I'm not someone who likes Flash lore. I like interpersonal relationships between characters, so that's my opinion, though. Other people have been enjoying this book. I'm just not a big Flash fan, and see, unlike most of comic book Twitter, I can just admit freely that sometimes I just don't like a character. It's not hard, Twitter. Okay, and then the last book I read this week, or mostly just skimmed through, Superman Unlimited issue 2. So, big plot thing. So, Superman has a fucking, like, Super Saiyan mode. I think Connor described it as, like, getting, like, the star power-up from, like, Mario, or, like, getting enough gold rings in Sonic. He has, like, this new, like, gold mode, so, like, because, like, he's basically going to be invulnerable for about, like, 3 minutes. And then after that, all of the sun's energy has now been depleted from him. And so now he's just a normal human. Like, he, like, has, like, a charge-up mode. Which is interesting. And I want to see how it plays out further before I really, like, state my opinions on it. Because, like, it could go either one or two ways. It could make Superman too overly powerful, but it could also make him very... like, if it makes him too overly powerful, then it's not gonna be a fun book anymore. You know, you get what I'm saying? But if it underpowers him, depending on how it underpowers him, it could also make the book a little bit weird too. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Dan Slott is one of those writers where I do think that if you give him a legacy character that he a long-standing character that he respects, he'll do a better job with it. And he does seem to really like Superman, so, like, hopefully this is good. If not, the summer of Superman to me is the summer of Supergirl and KRYPTO. So, up to books that I did not read. Batman Superman's World's Finest. We're getting fucking mechs and kaiju fights in this one. Oh, it's actually done by the same artist. So the artist is Adrian Gutierrez, who, if you don't recognize his art, he was, also the artist on, the last Blue Beetle series that happened. I really do like his art. I think it's very, like, dynamic and fun and really, like, captures, like, the characters' like, personalities. And case in point, Lois is a badass. You can kind of, like, tell the physical difference between, like, Clark as Clark and Clark as Superman. Not every artist can capture perfectly, you know? Again, World's Finest exists for a reason. It is a fun book. I just don't like Batman that much. And then also what came out this week, Batman and Robin Year 1, Issue 8. I do believe Stack's backed up on it, so I don't know really what's happening in the issue, except that Dick Grayson is 3 apples tall. Shocking revelation. We all know that the Year 1 books are always good. We knew that this was going to be a banger. Probably at this point, because we're, like, at Issue 8, you should buy it when it's collected into the trade. We're too far in at this point. So if you haven't been keeping up with it or interested, go read it. Did not hear anything about Catwoman 77. I feel like this happens every single week. Oh shit, she's doing heist shit. It's Catwoman. Everyone's happy with the Catwoman book. There's a reason that this book has been going on for 77 issues. Fucking Detective Comics by Tom Taylor. So we have 1098 this week. Oh shit, it's a fucking Penguin story. Again, I don't read Batman. I'm not pretending like I read Batman. It's probably... It's Tom Taylor. He's hit or miss. Okay, Nightwing, 127? The only thing I've heard about this book is how badly it's treating Barbara. So, they're essentially treating Barbara like how, Ultimate Spider-Man treats Mary Jane. Which is bad. She's just there to be, like, a supportive girlfriend to him, and, like, Jesus Christ, I want that chip I want the chip gone. I need the chip retconned out, and I need her never to appear in another Nightwing book again. Like, regardless of the writer, it's always just been bad. That's not even the only bad news that happened to Birds of Prey being around Bat Boys. Well, we'll get to that. Titans number 24 came out. Personally, I'm not even gonna bother keeping up with this because I think that bringing Slade back in any capacity is stupid. I think, again, my opinion of Titans right now is that, like, no author who is currently being hired by DC has the emotional capacity to deal with Tara as a victim, and as they should, so why bring her back at all? And then last but certainly bad, Wonder Woman 22. I am so glad that I did not hear any discussion. Here's my thankful note to the comic book community. I am so glad that no one talked about this book. Remember, if you talk about it, you give Tom King power. Whenever you want to talk about Tom King, talk about how he's a war criminal who should not be hired by DC. I know a lot of people are like, there's no way that, like, he puts, like, his mindset into the books. This recent book is all about the January 6th riots. And how, no, men aren't bad, they're just being controlled by bad men. Which sounds like something that someone who has committed war crimes overseas because of 9/11 would say. Don't fucking read a Tom King book. Should go without saying on my channel at this point. Okay, and then now going into the indies. Starting from Image Comics, we have I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer issue 3. I've heard great things about this series. I am a little bit... I'm not that big of a horror comic fan. I haven't caught up with it, but I have been seeing the pictures for it, and it looks pretty good. I definitely think that you should check it out. And then for the Invincible fans, because I know that there's people who like Invincible who follow me, even though I personally don't. The Invincible Universe Battle Beast #2 is also out by Image. And then from Dark Horse, so if you've been liking Tate Brombold's Batgirl run, Tate Brombold, like most comic book writers, fun fact, again, most comic book writers and artists that you like have indie books out, unless their name is Al Ewing. Tate Brombold is making a new Christopher Chaos, or a new sequel series, essentially, to their original character, Christopher Chaos, called The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, Children of the Night. I've heard such good things about the first Christopher Chaos series. This one is probably going to be even greater, just, you know, by the evolution of being a writer. So definitely go check that out. Issue 1 just came out. It's gonna be good. And then, last but certainly not least, from my favorite publisher, IDW, we have Star Trek Omega #1. Is that an Indigenous Starfleet officer? I need to go read this immediately. She's a lieutenant commander? Oh my god. Oh my god, and Shax is here! Sorry, I had to scroll through it right now. I'm fucking hyped for this shit. I mean this in, like, the best way possible. This is a book that my dad would heavily enjoy. It seems to be pulling from, like, all corners of the Star Trek universe it possibly can. And he loves that shit. He loves it. So definitely, like, go check it out. We also have another Monster High book. Oh no, not a new Monster High book. We have a republished Monster High book, The Locket Nest Monster. It's a Gil story. I opened it. I didn't realize it would be a Gil story. I fucking hate Gil. I mean, like, obviously, go support indie publishers. Go support the Monster High books. They have been doing great work over there. I fucking hate Gil, though. I need him to be replaced by Phineas again. Fishman who uses the wheelchair. Like, just replace Gil with him permanently. For some reason, DC can't release their solicits on Thursday. Gotta wait till Friday, so now I gotta... Look, peep the Cody Rhodes fit. Anyway, on to the solicits for DC. For September 2025, we have quite a few new books coming out. More importantly, it is the start of Matt Fraction's Batman 1. We're starting off with Batman #1 with art by Jorge Jimenez. Do I think it's going to be good? I don't know. I don't care enough about Batman, but, like, I really do like Jorge Jimenez's art. So, like, it's a win-win for me. Then also, the news that got everyone, and by everyone I mean Daystar specifically upset, is the new Red Hood #1. This book is going to feature Huntress for some reason, and it seems like there's going to be a romantic relationship between the two of them. The only thing I have to say about this book is, A, DC, respect your women better, and B, comic book writers, don't be weird on Twitter. And if you're gonna be weird in a fun way. I want to defend the author because this is a trans woman writing Jason Todd and Helena for the first time. But also, on the other hand, she was kind of weird on Twitter. Like, for other reasons. Like people were doing deep dives on her Twitter. And, like, guys, why don't you guys do this for, like, any of the male writers when they get announced?
I feel like we could avoid a lot if you just did this for the male writers, too. I also do want to mention Superman 30. Superman 30 officially announces the return of Booster Gold. So Superman and him are going to be fighting the Darkseid's Legion. They're going to be fighting them in I do believe that it starts in Superman issue 28 and then continues through issue 30. Just issue 30 is the one where it's officially Booster's back. We also have a new announcement, Adventures of Superman Book of L #1 by the same person who wrote Future State Superman House of L. It's a super family book. I think that's probably like the best I can say about it. I don't know enough about Superman or what's going on in Superman right now for that. Okay, so we did actually get a new book announcement by Dan Jurgens as well in the September solicits. The Bat-Man, Second Night #1, written by Dan Jurgens, with art and cover by Mike Perkins. It seems to be like, kind of like, you see the purple gloves. You see the purple gloves by the image that Zach has graciously put up here. It does seem like it's going to be kind of like a reimagining or retelling of early Batman. It does seem to be taking place during World War II, if that tells you anything. I'm just excited for it because I like Dan Jurgens. Dan Jurgens is like one of my favorite writers, if you couldn't tell by literally everything behind me. Oh, and then, so we got this announcement from Tom Taylor first before these solicits came out. But we are getting a children's book by him called Court Children of the Round Table, kind of being like a children's comic reimagining of Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur, but, with kids. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's probably going to be good, because I feel like Tom Taylor is kind of controversial. I don't like what he said about Barbara, but, like, when people say that he's as bad as Tom King, and maybe I said this in the past, but I don't believe it anymore. When people say he's as bad as Tom King, I have to, like, look at them like, really? Some bad decisions with Barbara that, like, DC is also backing him on is not the equivalent of war criminal Tom King baby-trapping Diana for his own acclaim and not for Diana's story. We also got another, like, anthology book announced. DC's Satanic Panic, which seems to be a new horror anthology comic. So I'm gonna read it because, like, obviously you can tell by the cover Zatanna is going to be a main focus, at least this first couple stories. But it's spooky stories for terrifying times featuring bone-chilling tales from some of the comics' most fearsome, fabulous, and harrowing artists, with spine-tingling shorts starring Batman, Ambush Bug, Raven, the Demon, Plastic Man, Swamp Thing, and of course the Mistress of Magic herself, Zatanna, as they summon spirits and struggle against the supernatural. So obviously, I'm just glad that we're getting Zatanna content after Jamal Campbell's series wraps. And I know I say on here all the time, I don't like horror comics. I don't. But I am going to be reading this simply because Zatanna's in it. We're also getting a lot of collections of a lot of favorites, that will be wrapped by September. Obviously, we're getting a wrap-up of the first 6 issues of Absolute Martian Manhunter. If you also didn't hear, Den's Camp is taking a, 2-month break. So if you don't hear me talk about Martian Manhunter for 2 months, it's because they are currently trying to, put together the next 6 issues they have, because if you didn't know, Martian Manhunter originally was only supposed to be 6 issues, and then DC saw how good the sales were and then extended it by another 6. So they have to now come up with more. So that's gonna be interesting. But so if you see a 2-month delay in Martian Manhunter, it's fine. It's still going. Kind of combining the We Are Yesteryear between Justice League Unlimited and World's Finest into a trade, which I think is kind of weird. We're also getting the collected edition of Zatanna by Jamal Campbell. Again, I do think that this is just a very easy story to start with Zatanna, so I'm excited for it. And then a couple Batman books, and Green Lantern Corps, and fucking Batman. This is all Batman. It's all fucking Batman! Oh, we're also getting a DC Finest of Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's only part 1. Which I think is kind of weird, because Crisis is only 8 issues. Or no, it's 12. But still, 12 issues is not a lot for oh, they're including other shit. It's only 1 through 4. They're also doing a lot of reprintings of Elseworld. So we're getting like a DC Finest Super Friends, DC Finest War, aka just the War comics that they were printing, a compendium for Injustice, which, like, don't fucking read Injustice, it's bad. I actually read most of it, which is weird because I said, hey, that book by Tom Taylor's not gonna be that bad, when I've read most of Injustice, which is how he got his kind of, like, backing at DC. I didn't realize that they had already done #1 for this, but they are doing a omnibus collection of Secret Six by Gail Simone. I don't like Gail Simone's writing, but I do like how homoerotic Catman and Deadshot are, and apparently they're even more so in this book, but obviously with Gail Simone you have to deal with a little bit of homophobia on the side. Yeah, don't buy the fucking deluxe edition of The Human Target. It's bad. It's bad, it's racist, it's sexist, somehow Martian phobic, all at the same time. I'm going to be mentioning this just for Ion specifically, because I think he would want people to know about it, because he does like the new Teen Titans. They are doing a deluxe edition of the Judas Contract. I do think that the Judas Contract as a story is probably one of the best comic book stories ever written. However, that comes with the large asterisk of they completely fucked themselves over with how they've been handling Terra and Slade past that. Hell, even how they handled Terra in the Judas Contract was very bad.
I got cut off in my rant of the Judas Contract. It just doesn't handle a child sexual assault victim well. That's all I gotta say. That's my finishing statement with the Judas Contract. That's kind of it for this episode of Last Week in Comics. So over here is your next recommended video. Is an episode of Ash and Their Fantastic Friends, my live show I do every 9 p.m. Saturday EST on YouTube and Twitch. Is it another episode of Last Week in Comics? Is it a YouTube short? Is it a video I haven't published yet? I don't know. Down here is the playlist for the rest of the Last Week in Comics. So I've been doing this since November 2024. So if you want to know what's happened since November 2024, it's down there. And then over here is the subscribe button. I am going to be doing videos besides this. The problem is that for some reason, June is really busy for gay people. I did not know that until I got into a gay relationship. Every single week, it's another homosexual activity. But I'm going to be doing videos on how to collect comics, you know, kind of helping people to not get scammed, because I've had it happen to at least like 2 or 3 people I know. How to collect things, how to store your comics, whether or not you should get your comics graded, the answer is probably not. And of course the White Wingfoot video essay, which I need to start writing again because it's like T-minus a year away. I'm done talking. I had to stretch out this over like 2 days because DC doesn't release their solicits on Thursday, and like this video was already going to be short, and cut.